Welcome back, everybody, to another Purpose Served podcast episode. I'm your legendary host, Darryl Wingfield. This podcast is pretty much straight and forward. Simply, it's trying to inspire you to be the best version of yourself that you can possibly be through developing a skill, through you taking action. So many different things. Today's episode is going to be wrapped around what's to come in the future and what it's really wrapped around. And it's going to be summing up things that I've been talking about at this point for the last 2 years. This has a lot to do with the hero's journey narrative that I was talking about a year and a half ago. And this hero's journey narrative is so deep in society and culture and is realer than real. And we look at heroes, superheroes, and an example for this is Spider-Man, Peter Parker. Before he got bit by the spider, he was this nerd dude in school, all of that, the whole nine. But after he got bit by that radioactive spider, he developed powers from the spider. And through this, he took on his life just completely changed. It took on a different meaning. He accepted a calling that was higher than itself. And he was looking to protect the people of New York City. And it didn't start off like that even when he got his powers. When he first got his powers, it was for selfish intent. It wasn't to save people. It was to get Mary Jane, to get the car, to get the money. And it's crazy, even in that story, it took a tragedy to happen to him for him to really wake up. And it took Uncle Ben dying, and the dude that he let escape was the dude that ended up killing his uncle when he got the money from the little fighting tournament that he was doing, the cage tournament. And from then on out, it changed his life. And you see that motif in so many different cultures and so many different places, everything. 2 podcast episodes ago, I even brought it up in a Christian standpoint with Moses. And even going back to that in the Abrahamic faith, with Abraham himself getting that calling at 75 years old to leave the place that he's known to go somewhere that God is sending him. And it's somewhere that he never been before. And God was going to bless him while listening to this calling. And for us, that's a story literally of every single human being. We have to venture out our comfort zone and go towards growth. And those are 2 different things. And this is something that I talked about on this podcast, and with the Ideas to Results World to Purpose guidebook that's going to be, Volume 1 is going to be dropping this Friday, and it will be free for download March 3rd. But within this, we go down the practical means of how we go from ideas to results, purpose to impact, something that I've been reiterating on this podcast for such a long time. But the starting point is recognizing the purpose that's within you, that was given to you. It's not something that you generated yourself. And we're dependent on a system that's beyond us. In order for us to even come through to existence, our parents had to come together. Without that, we can't exist. And even for our parents, their parents had to come together for them to exist. And so on, so on, so on, so on, so on. And all of these things start off in the mind's eye. You got to think of it like this. Oftentimes, when you see something with your physical eye, you getting thoughts, you getting feelings. Like you guys listening to me right now, you guys watching me right now, you right now are listening to me, and you having thoughts right now. You having feelings regarding to what I'm saying. It's invoking something within you. And a lot of times the phenomena with thoughts and feelings themselves, we don't know where it comes from. and it guides us. That force literally guides us our whole lives. And unfortunately, for a decent amount of us, we don't really necessarily care about the origins of our thoughts. We don't really care about the origins of our feelings. And why do certain thoughts pop up when they do? And why do certain feelings pop up when they do? It's oftentimes ignored. Nowadays, that's turning into a huge issue with the distractions that's very, very apparent with phones and the endless scrolling. We get thoughts constantly. It seemed like at a faster rate than before, and we don't really take the time out, and it's not important for us to be still and understand where this stuff comes from. And the difficult thing with this, personally for me, with this ideas to results, it was, how do I try to go into a chaotic space and create order within that chaotic space. And shout out to Jordan B. Peterson. This is somebody that, through listening to him and the path that I've been on, it's just like things are just clicking. And the starting point with this has been simply a circle for me. And the borders of a circle, that pretty much is the gate, the confines of our comfort zone. And anything outside of that represents the terrifying land that's never been charted before. That's like those people, whoever was the first group of people that decided to go across the ocean when nobody dared to do something like that. When people believed that if you go past a certain point, you was going to fall off the earth. We laugh at stuff like that now. But before, that was actually scary. And the only reason why we laugh at something like that now is because some of those people went out and dared to do what people were scared to do. We need more people like that. We need more people with courage. We need more people that's fearless and is willing to go out there and in the dark and light it up. That's the only way for us to create more harmony within this madness that we experiencing right now. And it's actually getting real sad that people are turning a blind eye to the things that's going on. And if you guys deeply look at how civilizations fall apart, is a lot of people forget how the civilizations in the beginning were built. And for the ideas to results, the starting point is building a foundation. And from building a foundation, you're going to have the groundworks to, in this context of skill development, develop a gift and then go out there and use it. And the primary example that I use in regards to this is the relationship between a teacher and a student. That's like a archetype, a motif that's like universal when it comes to sports. You got coaches and you got players. All different things. You're going to find that mentor and a mentee, somebody has the experience that this person is looking for. But if we got a bunch of people that's not willing to chart, go through uncharted territory, then we're going to be stuck in a place of comfort. And nowadays, we are literally living in pleasure utopia and hedonism. And the definition, just for those that don't know what hedonism actually means, it means, give me 1 second, the pursuit of pleasure, sensual self-indulgence. And the one thing is, with the message that I try to get across, it's not to maximize your self-potential simply because it started with you and it's going to end with you. That's to a certain extent, but not really. That's getting a very, very small surface level picture of what I'm trying to paint. And it's important to understand that you got a community to serve, you got a culture to serve, and you got a society to serve. And a major sacrifice has to be given. And oftentimes, and the paradox within it is going to be yourself. Nothing else. And if you're not willing to do that, you can't possibly accept that higher calling. You can't. You won't be able to hear it. That higher calling comes from a very, very deep place. And that deep place oftentimes is something that if you tap into it, from my personal experience, it's outside of yourself. Throughout my life, I always had that sense of calling. And it low-key started when I was a kid. And when I was a kid, I used to draw comic books. And in fact, I got one of the first ones that I ever made. So in school, instead of taking notes, this is what I was doing. You guys probably can't see, but yeah, it's like kind of blurry. That's what I used to do. And I pictured myself and me and all my friends and my family, my cousins, my brothers, my dad, and unbeknownst to any of us, alright, here we go. We were destined to see the world. And I'll say for me, this started when I was like 11 years old, 11 going all the way up to like 17. Instead of taking notes at school, I'll be drawing. And I'll be drawing those like my own characters with their own personalities. But even with that, it took me a while to get older to recognize like even that came from a very deep creative part of myself, where these characters was able to tell a story through my imagination, and these characters developed, and the relationships between these characters, it was just like it was a world in itself, but this was a world that was within me as a kid. And the older that we get with things like that, it just like we kill that side of us because of the demands of the outside world. And life get challenging the older that you get. And this leads me to the next point in regards to all of this. You shouldn't seek happiness, because happiness is temporary. It's an emotion that come and go, just like with all of them. But you need a balance. You need to find that middle way. And from building a foundation, you find a form. And you find a form through taking up a function. And an example for this, leaving this in the context of sports, is like a function would be a sport, and a form for the sport would be me playing basketball. And I was able, and I'm still doing that, leaving an impact through the game of basketball. But now instead of playing, I'm coaching. And even outside of that, just taking on a great deal of responsibility and not shying away from it. And a lot of these things right now in my life is new to me, but at the same time, I know it's the direction that I gotta go in. In spite of it being a little uncomfortable, and in spite of it being challenging, it's something that I know that I must do. And a lot of us are not listening to those things that we know we must be doing. We ignore it and we put it on to the next day. And what I'm trying to do is trying to show people that every single thing that they do actually matters, and they have a purpose. And the purpose, the definition of purpose, is the reason for something existing. And just to give an exact definition, this is something that I read on here so many different times, but for those that's new, it's the reason for which something is done or created, or for which something exists. And my whole entire point that I always iterate is, simply put, due to the fact that we are in existence itself, we have purpose. We are part of a creation, which means that we got to develop a relationship with the Creator, whatever that means for y'all. And oftentimes, if you genuinely get to that place, it brings you to a real selfless, humble place, and not a place filled with like pride. Because at the end of the day, we have limited amount of time and we're limited in our ways due to the fact that we can't do everything at any given time. We can only do so much. But that so much is more than what we think. And if you think about the fields of study that's out there right now and human capability, it's ridiculous. We got biology, we got psychology, we got geography, geometry, all of these different things for us to better understand the natural world or the world that's within us. And you can be a part of that. And don't fall sheep to what's going on right now. We are highly influenced. Social media has opened up the gateway for us to gain access to so many different viewpoints, so many different images, and all these things that can be overwhelming and confuse us. And also is like giving a vibe of people developing social anxiety, and everything is set up for us to honestly not leave our house and not have human interaction. It's going to be based off of through screens. And that's not going to be good for our well-being at all. And going back to the ideas to results, once you find a form, you got to mold your skill. And that takes discipline, that takes self-knowledge, and that takes you sitting under some sort of tutelage or leadership where you're learning from somebody. Really learning, like learning. And learning how they did what they did. And then as you apply those basic principles, you start to develop your own way naturally due to how you perceive things. But like I said, it's a selfless act. And once you become a master yourself, your goal is to pay it forward to the next generation and not simply think about this for yourself and lead the next generation to be doomed. And from there, once that whole situation is set up, we go into intention breakdown. And what does intention look like internally, and what does intention look like externally? And how do you bring your idea down from the place of the mental, the spiritual, the emotional, and how do you bring it down to the physical, the here and now? And that's a delay. So once you bring your idea down into the physical form, it's going to take a plan. And not only that, it's going to take actions. And not only that, you're going to have to put this place in the right place to nurture it. And it's almost like you're literally planting the seed. And you have to plant seed in the right soil. And then you got to nurture it. You got to water it. And you got to make sure that it grows. And you got to give it time. You got to give it room. And you got to give it space to grow. We are impatient now. We want things instantly. This is part of the hedonism that's going on. The instant gratification is crazy right now. Everybody are doing things for likes. They're doing things for comments and reactions and attention. And they're forgetting about themselves in the process. But instead of being self-aware, we're starting to be self-conscious. How are people going to see us? How are people going to perceive us? I don't know if that's a truthful way of living, to be quite honest. But here we are. So this is like in a nutshell of what's going to be going on these next couple of weeks. And also from there, the tools with the 4 methods that I've created that's going to be a part of the lecture series that I'm going to be starting to drop. That's going to be a part of the World of Purpose guidebook. That's all going to be packaged up into one thing. And I'm going to try my best to have this ready by this Friday, March 3rd. So tune in for that. I really, really pray and hope that those that come across this, that this inspires you to be the best version of yourself that you can possibly be. Not an easy task, but it is the task, and doing it through truth and doing it in a righteous way and not a self-serving, self-fulfilling way. And you have to be selfish at first to do it, but then it has to be a selfless thing because nobody can do it for you. Like I said earlier, you got to bring it out. You got to bring it out. But all in all, that's all I got for you guys today. I love y'all and serve your purpose. Deuces. Deuces!